I'm Clarity, Raven Su.Sane, and I'm going to read from the first chapter of the Fibers of Listening, the first part called Pulse, and I'm going to read about 4 pages into it. Pulse. Pulse is the creatress of what fills the void, and this piece of work is the expression of the full embodiment of the sense of existence that emanates from its rhythm. This embodiment has taken 20 years, and the artwork has moved from its motion and emotion, filling the void with its flesh. Inside the body is a persona, and that persona is characterized by the way I feel. I feel is the central character of who I know is. The stretch that reaches across the abyss of what the spirit sees is the main dominance of what is called a person. The person I am is called into persona by this stretch of reach, and I am needing to pull both ways into the center. A story about this pulling is about what I am going to share, and the stretch of reach will give me the words. Words that fill the life with meaning and receive the purpose of what folds into the lap of the body, positioned for holding. I bend into the lap and see the world in its beginnings, and I fold into the beginnings, and I find the sounds of creation putting sound into form, forms that hold the distance of what is coming. The layers that mark the digging that now takes place have come to a sequence that relates itself more to the findings than what truly is. I expect to see the intricate positions of bodies moving through layers of sequence, even if the earth has not yet yielded her future. Quietly the sacred emerges from the bodies, and the body of my persona recognizes the forming of human from the architecture of plant, becoming whole within the frame of sea, moving motion into water, creating the emotion of feeling, copulating the integrity of sound penetrated with the element of air, thus creating the expansion of air within the frame of plant, creating emotions through water, taking spaces that take phases into new positions for the ease of discovery, finding the angle of human from the angle of penetration of air. The breath forces the air into the closure of opened, so the lung can contain. The container becomes the grail, and the alchemist of earth puts fire into the need, and the elements fuse into the coils of spiral that circulates the wisdom of being full. Being full to the sound of breath has created the wash of stone, to the gold is had as life. I am created from this wash, and the palette I paint is the fire of the passion that seeks the life within the frame of plant enfolded. The form I am is moving its elements of water now into the calling of stone. Creating the space for the calling to be heard clearly has been the resonance of what now writes. Completion of the evolution cycle is the formation of stone called into water, and the wavelength of rhythm is completing its numbers. The pulse of yield is the result of all parts, making resonant all parts within place and position. To feel the pulse of the created is to feel the thought of the Creator. The thought is the voice of what dreams of life. Life is the movement of the angles to create the penetration of space into the form of color. Calling into the sound of stone is the muse of creation that feels the pulse of itself as the thought of its creator. Pulse moving rhythm into timing, and timing into time, so the sequence can have space to be in. Taking in the spiral that contains the feeling that exists within the cell of each creation is the memory of space, revealed as coming. The relief that unfolds a space coming is the ecstatic resonance of life, conceiving itself as coming into time. the pronunciation of word, combing the self-reliance back into the cellular hair of power, gives force its need. Without the need, force would be without the discipline of nature, pumping life into its beat. Keeping filled the color of pumping, the relationship gives blood to the pulse, as the veins are filled with the liquor of life beating. Making solid the frame of fire, ringing its circular resonance into the shapes of language, feeling its walls waiting, making common the denominator of fraction, the edge of recognition begins to surface. To the microscope of life, peering into itself. Facing itself in the mirror of glass, reflecting fraction, the relationship changes, and the position of power becomes the watched, as the character of value becomes the watcher, keeping the pulse sacred to its make. The revolutions of rhythm keep the spiral in continuum. Leaving the sacred into the center of nuclei, the feeling moves the iris of the eye into the expansion of pupil, conceiving black as infinity. The body does not part from itself, but continues to juxtaposition its own completion into an infinium. The compliance of space gives elasticity to the wall, and the bending begins to circulate the folds of posture. Placing movement into its own focus, the parts take the beat of pulse, and the reality sees its own existence. Feeling power in the sight, the persona takes the beat of pulse into its own breath, and the timing becomes a rhythm that takes in and takes out, existing in the between of the impart, depart. Edging the way close to the mind, the creation knows the creative thought, and the department of words, collaborating with the sight, the sound of sight, forming space into the fluid of cells spinning. As the rapidity acknowledging begins, the surface hardens. Cracking open the core, the finality of course is given its space of destiny, and the safety of home is established in the midst of exposure. Closing the rounded of passage into the rolling of vein, into skin, the map makes way its nervous system, each point coming into mark through the diameter of persona, fulfilling its volume of eternal. The next part is visioning of flesh. I'll record that later. Thank you.